Girls, what's the most obvious hint you have dropped and the guy just didn't get it? Story 1. With my boyfriend on our first date. He didn't give me a kiss and left. And I just said, "What? No kiss?" And he just awkwardly laughed and walked away. I thought I blew it or something. Second date, he asked me to his apartment. I asked if I could take my pants off since they were uncomfortable. And we laid on the bed watching a movie. I had my leg over his body and left leaning in close for a kiss, and he didn't kiss me. He finally kissed me when I was about to leave and was in the middle of talking when he did it. Story 2. My now fiance told me he liked me, and I told him I wanted to get to know him. We went on a date, and at the end of the night, we kissed and arranged a second date. I told him later that night that I liked him back. After a few days, he messaged me, "But do you mean like as a friend, or do we like each other the same way? I'm sorry, but you have to spell it out for me. I don't want to get the wrong impression." Story 3. I met my partner of 9 years when we were at a mutual friend's 20th birthday. I was into him, but he was completely clueless. I could tell he was attracted to me, but he was so awkward and adorably innocent. I would dance with just him, grab his hand to keep up with the group through the busy nightclub, and place his hand on my waist or hips. Hours had passed, and he wasn't getting it. Eventually, I fully sat on his lap, despite empty seats either side of him. He froze, not sure what to do. The friend whose party it was caught his attention before demonstrating how to handle a woman in your lap. The birthday boy pulled his girlfriend to his lap, encircling her waist in his hands and whispering in her ear with pointed looks at my guy. Awkwardly, my partner tried to do the same, but he was so uncertain. Later, we all went for drunken late-night maccas before everyone split up for the night. He tried to drag me into a shadow to kiss me goodnight, but couldn't get his confidence up before his rowdy friends came and dragged us all apart. He was so adorably frustrated. A couple of days later, I added him on Facebook because I wanted to know more about him. We started chatting all night, every night, and eventually got our together. It turned out he had never been kissed. So the next time we saw each other in person, I made sure to rectify that. 9 years later, we are no longer close with the mutual friends that got us together, but he's all I could ever need. Literally the best decision I ever made. Honestly, someone should give that birthday boy a Nobel Prize for romance advancement. His lap whispering 101 was the turning point. Just goes to show sometimes love needs a little push or a lap sitting tutorial to get things rolling. May your relationship continue to be a hilarious and heartwarming adventure. Story 4. A guy here, sophomore year of college, me and this girl had an economics class where every week we had to take those little 10-question quizzes. One day we're walking out together and she goes, "I found all the answers to the quizzes on Quizlet. I'd send them to you, but I don't have your number." And I said, "Oh, they're on Quizlet, huh?" and walked off towards my next class. Oh, the facepalm is strong with this one. It's like witnessing someone accidentally throw away the winning lottery ticket. I mean, forget about Economics 101. This was a crash course in missed signals and introduction to romantic opportunity cost. There's no supply and demand curve for that level of cluelessness, my friend. Let's hope you eventually acquired better skills in picking up signals and, of course, acing those quizzes. Story 5. Girl I worked with when I was 18 or 19 ran her finger up and down the button-up shirt seam where the buttons are, said, "I always wanted to ride in a Mustang." I owned a classic one, 1965, and I was like, "Oh, cool, yeah, that'd be fun. I can give you a lift home after work if you want." And then I did, and she was all, "You want to come up and watch a movie?" And that's when I said, "Oh, I would, but I'm meeting some friends to play video games." Yeah, peak of my, let's call it nerd phase. Story 6. I'm not a girl, but an idiot guy. I had just met the best friend of my best mate's girlfriend. She got more physical throughout the night, to a point where she was constantly touching me, and while we were at a club, she suggested we leave as my best friend and his girlfriend had disappeared. We were both a bit drunk at this point and decided to get a cab home. When the cab pulled up at her place, she asked if I wanted to stay the night, and she would drive me home in the morning. Me, being the polar opposite of Stephen Hawking, said, "Nah, it's fine. My place is only a few minutes away." Once I got back to my place, the driver asked if I was into boys, and everything hit me at once. Ended up back at her place a few weeks later after my mate explained just how dumb I am. Well, my friend, you've just earned a PhD in the University of Missed Opportunities. And that taxi driver became an unexpected life coach, posing the one question that flipped on the aha switch in your brain. It's like you had a mental fog machine working overtime until that moment of clarity. Here's to embracing your inner Sherlock Holmes in future romantic investigations and catching on to those not-so-subtle hints. May you never find yourself in the "Watson, what did I miss?" zone again. Story 7. I met a cute guy in college and we started texting a lot. Our school used to host 19-plus themed club nights on campus every Thursday night. And one of those nights, the guy texted me and asked if I was planning on going. I hadn't planned on it, but was hoping the guy would invite me to go with him, so I said something like, "No, I always wanted to go, but none of my friends are 19 yet, so I have no one to go with." He said, "Aw, that's too bad. Have a good night." Eventually, he caught on to my flirting, and we've been dating for 3.5 years now. He still insists that there was nothing wrong with his response. Story 8. Told the guy I liked, now my boyfriend, that I was single and was looking for a boyfriend, and he just went, "Oh, have fun." That's always difficult. Then later in the conversation, I ended up calling him hot and boyfriend material. Yeah, bad joke, I know. And he was like, "Haha, thanks." 3 hours afterwards, he texted me and was like, "Wait, were you flirting with me?" Now we're dating, and I like to tease him about his constant obliviousness. Bravo on breaking through the obliviousness barrier and securing your place as the ultimate love signal decoder. Your determination to flirt your way into his heart is like a special ops mission to capture the most elusive target. 3 cheers for patience and perseverance. May your relationship continue to be a delightful mix of teasing and tender moments, proving that sometimes you just gotta spell it out for love to take flight. Story 9. Was at a friend's house and his sister came out wearing just a towel from the bathroom. She said to me, "Stop undressing me with your eyes." And I replied, "You're only wearing a towel?" She did a cheeky wink and walked into her room. I thought to myself, stupid girl thinks she's wearing clothes, and went about my day. Story 10. Guy here. After a breakup one time, my female friend invited me over to stay the night with her. I got all excited and was like, "Hell yeah." Got over there and shared the same bed after she snuck me through the house and into her room. She leaned over and said, "I hope this isn't confusing. I don't sleep with my friends." So like my mother taught me, I minded my own. She got really close and brushed up against me multiple times. My wife, different lady, best woman ever by the way, told me years later that she was coming on to me and wanted to see if I wanted to take a risk and go after her, essentially forcing the first move, which to a guy is really confusing. I don't sleep with friends, but then rubs up against me and has me sleep in a single bed right up against her? To this day, I find it confusing as all hell. Oh, the perplexing world of mixed signals. It's like navigating a maze with a blindfold on, hoping to find the cheese. This story is living proof that sometimes Cupid needs to put down the bow and arrow and pick up a megaphone. Story 11. Guy here. For my 21st, I went out drinking till 5 a.m. with friends. I left a diner at 6 a.m. with a friend. We decided to walk back to his place to crash and met a woman along the way. She was walking alone and for some reason felt cool walking with 2 guys. Turns out she lived 2 blocks away from my buddy. Got her to her door and she asked for my number and said we should hang out. I drunkenly decided I wanted to watch the sunrise. As soon as I got to my buddy's place, she called and said her roommate was loud and she couldn't sleep. Asked me to come over and spend some time with her. I told her I was going to watch the sun come up and invited her out. She declined. I called her a week later. She told me I missed out on having a good night. Story 12. I once was modeling clothes I planned to take on vacation for my boyfriend. After showing off a couple of outfits, I told him to close his eyes and changed into lingerie. He opened his eyes and I asked him what he thought. His jaw dropped and he said, "You can't wear that outside." I put my clothes back on. Reply 1. My ex did something similar. I bought new lingerie, waited on the bed for him to come home from work. He comes in, looks a little shocked, says, "That's nice," and adjusts the straps, laid down and started staring at his phone. He said later after our breakup that he just didn't know what to do and freaked out inwardly because it was something he'd always wanted, LMAO. I never wore lingerie for him again after that incident. It killed my confidence. Story 13. A girl came to my house once and spent the night. Around the time for bed, she told me she doesn't sleep with a top on or panties. I told her, that's okay, I'll sleep on the couch so she can be comfy. She called me from downstairs later that night and told me she couldn't sleep and she was cold. I figured, well, obviously, you're not wearing any clothes. So I gave her another blanket and went back downstairs. Oh, in the grand hall of mist hints, you, my friend, deserve a throne. It's like you were handed the keys to the kingdom of romance, but instead decided to become a benevolent blanket donor. Your cluelessness has reached legendary status, and we can only hope future generations learn from your epic misstep. May your newfound fame serve as a reminder to read between the lines and the sheets to finally unlock the mysteries of the flirting universe. Story 14. I asked a guy at a festival to come take a shower with me. He didn't get it. He just repeated there was only one free shower. And I was like, well, they are big. I'm sure it's fine. And he just looked confused and told me I could go first. We became close friends since that happened about 2 years ago. And this summer I spoke to him about it, and he really had no idea. He did the biggest facepalm I've ever seen. Story 15. My fiancée thinks leaving my bedroom door open when she spent the night, when we were just friends and she lived out of town, and there was absolutely no reason for me to think anything romantic was going on, was obvious. I got up and closed the door because the AC was on and was low-key miffed. We were friends for a long time before we got together, and she had a meeting early in the morning, so I gave her my bed and slept on the couch. She left the door open thinking I would take the hint. Story 16. On our first date, my current boyfriend and I went out to dinner, to a bar, and eventually back to his house to watch scary movies. After hanging out for almost 8 hours at that point, practically cuddling into him the entire time we were watching movies, dropping as many hints as I could, around 3 a.m. when we were both fighting to stay awake, I finally had to look his dumbass in the eye and ask, "So are you gonna kiss me or not?" Though he was totally oblivious, it did show his good heart. He was about to let me fall asleep on his couch and spend the night without even trying to kiss me. I knew he was a keeper after that. Story 17. I'm a guy, but one time I was hanging out with a longtime friend of mine who I used to have a crush on and who knew I had a crush on her and had rejected me numerous times over 7 to 8 years in her dorm. We decided that we were both tired, but her other bed was occupied by our other friend, so I was going to lay down on the floor. She was like, "There's room in my bed for you anytime." So I hop in bed with her, thinking nothing of it. The next few minutes were kind of a blur, but eventually we were literally hugging with her leg wrapped around me, and she looked me in the eyes, bit her lip, and said that she was I never made a move beyond that, since she had spent nearly the past decade of my life rejecting my advances. Yeah, well, I mean, she had been rejecting you for so long. How are you to know that she was going to suddenly open up after so many years of turning you down? Probably should have just taken the bait while it was presented to you, though, since I don't know if there's literally anything that's more obvious than wrapping her leg around you while in bed. Story 18. He invited me to his house to watch a movie after a few dates. He ended up playing League of Legends for hours while I was laying in his bed and asking him many times if he would like to join me, and he always replied with, "Sorry, just one more match." Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.